The data table is one part of JMP that everyone uses. It's both the entry point and the foundation of the analytic workflow. And we understand there can be challenges around interacting with data, especially as scientists and engineers are dealing with larger and larger problems. In the next release, you'll see many improvements to the JMP data table, such as easier storage and organization of column metadata, streamlined filtering, and the ability to organize columns with both groups and tags. I'd like to hand this off to David White, a principal software developer on our core team, to share what's new and exciting about the JMP data table. David?
Thanks, Mia. Today I'm going to be talking to you about 3 new data table features for JMP 19. Column tags, column filtering, and filter views. Let's talk about column tags. So column tags are a new way of organizing your columns, of identifying columns that have something in common. This is similar to column groups, which we've had for a while. But unlike column groups, which require columns to be adjacent or affect the order of the columns, column tags can be applied to columns anywhere and have no bearing on the order of the columns. So how do we apply column tags? You'll see in this case we have these 3 columns. They all represent lengths. So let's create a column tag for length. Click on the column, go to the tags, add the tag, and we'll call it length. And to help us see the tags at a glance, we can apply a color or emoji. We'll apply a color. And now I've created the column tag. You see this column has that tag applied. Now we can apply this to the other 2 columns by clicking the tags and clicking the tag that we've already created, and it's immediately applied. So now we have these 3 columns all with the length column tag. So what do we do can we do with a column tag? Well, there's a few things that help you with selection. So you can select that and select all the columns that have that tag. Also, when you're launching an analysis, you'll be able to select all the columns that have a tag when you launch the analysis. Perhaps the most powerful feature is the ability to apply column properties to a tag and have those properties then be inherited by the columns that use that tag. So all these columns have a unit are in millimeters. All these lengths are in millimeters. So we can add a column property of units, and we'll call it millimeters, since that is the unit they're in. And we'll create it just on the tag, and you'll notice it'll be applied to all 3 columns that have that tag. This is a great way to create a column property in one place and have it applied to many columns at once. It's great when you have a whole lot of columns that use the same column property in your table. So that's a brief look at column properties. Now let's take a look at column filtering. Now before I get into filtering, I do want to point out 2 small new features. The column groups are now visible in the column grid, in the table grid itself. As you can see up here, the processes group is visible there. And you can also now expand the panes on the left so they take up more space and now allow you to see more information at once. So when you have a whole lot of columns, you can see all those columns or more of those columns at once on the left pane. So let's talk about column filtering. You've been able for a while to hide a column, and it's been hidden in the column grid on the right. You can see with these 2 columns I've hidden them, and they're not visible on the right, but they're still visible on the left in the column list. We can change that by unchecking Show Hidden Columns, and now they're hidden in the column list itself. Now the same columns you see on the left are visible on the right as well. This is a great way to drill down to the columns that you care about and ignore the columns that you don't at that particular time. Now, another feature that's been in JMP for a while is the ability to filter columns by name in the column list on the left. We can start drilling down by name on the left, and you notice that it also now filters on the right. It filters the columns that we can see on the right as well. This is new for JMP 19 and also allows you to drill down to the columns that are very important to you without being distracted by the columns that you maybe don't care about at that particular time. Now that is now the default behavior. You can turn that off by unchecking Filter Data Table, and you can see all the columns if that's what you want to do. So that's column filtering. Now let's take a look at filter views. So filter views are a way to drill down into the rows that are important. Similar to subsets, it's just a way to subset in the table itself without having to create a new table, new separate table. So let's say we want to look at clutch completion, but just the rows with a no value. To create a filter view, we click on this little new icon at the top of the column. And now it opens a filter on the right. We click the criteria we are interested in this case, the no for clutch completion. And now we see just the rows that match the no value for clutch completion. And once we're done looking at that data, we can exit the filter view with the X in the upper right. Now say we want to have a filter view that we're interested in keeping around, perhaps toggling between the full table and a filter view, or toggling amongst several filter views. Well, we can do that with a named filter view. So let's create a filter view based on the species. If you click Save View, then you have the opportunity to name it. We'll call it Species, and you see this now shows up in the filter view list on the left. And so we can exit that filter view and return to it by clicking on the Species item in the list there on the left. And the filter rows do affect platforms or your analyses. So whatever you have selected or visible in the filter view will be what is applied in any analyses you happen to run when that filter view is open. And so that's a brief look at filter views. Now I do want to mention that we do have a new sample or an updated sample table called lipid data that has some tags and filter views in it. So you can play with those. And in addition, of course, you can go ahead and try and create your own filter views and tags with your own data. So I hope you'll find these new data table features helpful, and thank you very much.